Welcome everyone. This is the Devil Dog from Black Sheep Bravo with episode 2 of Beyond the Thin Blue Line with the Devil Dog. It is Sunday, February 25th, 2018. So today's show, I'm basically going to be answering some questions and comments that some of you viewers left on the page, and some of you actually called in. So I'm going to start off with the first question that was brought by one of our viewers, and this viewer, with all due respect to them, they wanted to remain anonymous. So I'm going to respect their wishes and not say who is posting these questions. So out of respect for them, they're going to remain anonymous. So this question was brought up regarding the issue with teachers carrying guns in school. They wanted to know what was my opinion, what was my view. So with that particular topic, I'm totally against that. I see so many things on so many different levels going on with that issue. We have trained officers, trained law enforcement officers that, again, carry guns, and as we saw in Florida, there were 4 lawmen that didn't even go inside the school to help these students that were being gunned down. So you can imagine a teacher carrying a sidearm. We don't know what he or she's going to do, if he or she's going to be afraid to actually engage. And there's always a what if matter. What if that teacher engages and accidentally kills an innocent student? What are the repercussions? I mean, it's just wrong on so many levels. But what if this teacher gets overpowered by a student or teachers, or the students, I'm sorry, and gets that gun away, or he or she loses that firearm, whether someone broke into the locker or whatever. It just, in my opinion, is wrong on so many levels to have teachers who are educators. They're not law enforcement. I don't care how many hours of training you give them. In my opinion, in my view, to that caller that had that question for me, the answer is no. I'm against it. It's so wrong on so many different levels. And some of the things that I just talked about are reasons why I'm totally against that. Leave that stuff up to the law enforcement officials. Let us in law enforcement be the ones that carry the guns and to be able to engage a situation like that. Like we talked about in the roundtable show, we were, upset and about those 4 law enforcement officers that refused to go into that school. Those guys are cowards, and they don't need to be have a badge what we have in the NYPD shields. They're a disgrace to the uniform, and I'm glad that they're no longer part of the law enforcement community. So that's one question that was written to by one of our viewers. Second question that was asked from the show is, how do we have, or what do I feel about having a need for tougher mental health laws? And it's great question. We refer here in NYPD as EDPs, emotionally disturbed persons. It's a tough topic. I personally myself, when I answer the call for an EDP, the problem with these calls is I remember one incident where it was a law firm. A law firm was in the Bronx, was constantly being harassed by this individual that had mental health issues. He was constantly hanging around, running around the street, causing harm to himself and others. So we got the call, we got there, and this individual started running across oncoming traffic, putting a danger to himself and myself and the 2 officers that I was with. But this has been going on and on and on. But what we do is we get this individual, we put him in custody. He's not arrested. He's taken to the local hospital for mental health evaluation. The problem is these hospitals triage them. They send them to site and they release them. Sometimes within hours of the time that I pick them up from the street. That's a problem. That's an issue. Because what happens is a recurring event. Instead of helping them get into some type of program, it's like in and out. They see him, and some of these guys and gals know exactly what to say to the hospitals and to these psychiatrists to get them out of there in a hurry. So they go over there, they say the right things, and they're discharged. And what happens when they're discharged? They go back into our communities, harassing people, and the same individuals keep calling. And they do is they claim that we are not doing nothing. We never did nothing. Well, we did. I mean, if the hospital releases them, that's the problem. Complain to the hospitals. Uh, this one individual who kept calling, he just made so many complaints that we never did our job. But the problem, then he finally told me, well, he used to come around the neighborhood. I used to give him money. I used to feed him. And I'm like, oh, that's the problem. You encourage this behavior, all right? So by you doing what you did, now he demands it every day he sees you. So that was a main problem. So ultimately, after so many times of dealing with this individual, we reached out to our homeless services outreach personnel, and they finally relocated him, and hopefully he's getting the help that he needs. But that's an issue. Mental health laws need to be more tougher, and they need to work in conjunction with law enforcement. So it's tough when you handle EDPs. It's an issue where sometimes you approach these people and they're not a danger. So another calls that we used to receive is, you'd be surprised. I've gotten calls of 6-year-olds, and moms and dads or the parents are real quick to call the police. And when we get there, I see this 6-year-old, he had a temper tantrum. And these mom and dads, the first thing they would say is, I want him out of here. Get him out of here. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And the first thing they want to do is shove medication down their throats, and that's going to be the cure-all for everything. No. How about talking to your kids? Understanding what they're going through. Find out what's going on in their schools and their lives. So a lot of times I go there and I talk to the kid on a personal level, talk to them kind, with respect, and then they open up. And then you'll see they're having issues, whether it's bullying in schools or the circumstances that they live in. Some of them are frustrated that they live in poverty, and it's hard on them. But sometimes you just need to hear them, and when you talk to them, it means a world of a difference than taking them to the hospital and getting medication shoved down their throat. A lot of them just require mentorship. I personally do a lot of mentoring to these young kids in the neighborhood. I do it on my own time, and that's a lot of things, like the Spaniard said on the Roundtable show last time. These are things you don't hear about in the media. A cop does something bad, all over the media. All over the media, within moments. But little things like cops doing good things, helping the community on their own personal time, you don't hear about that. So that's something that this show, Beyond the Thin Blue Line with the Double Dog, I'm going to broadcast to show a different light of the police. So this issue, I take these kids and I mentor them. I help them join programs. We got a wonderful program in the police department with the Explorer program. We have the Summer Youth program. We have so many programs for our youth, PAL. So, this young kid, I'm going to take him under my wing. I just had an issue with a young kid last week. Got himself into a little bit of trouble in school, but I offered my services to mom to mentor this individual and help him, put him in the right track so that he doesn't have a record in the future when he tries to become something of himself, especially when it comes time to college. We don't want that to be used against him. So sometimes talking to these kids goes a long, long way, rather than putting cuffs on them or sending them to the hospital to see these doctors. Some of these doctors just want to do a quick triage and tell moms and dads, you know what, I'm going to put them on this medication, and sometimes that's not it. Sometimes they just need to talk to someone, get some mentorship. And speaking about mentorship, I also do, I'm involved in a Big Brothers Big Sisters program. I got involved with this because Mrs. Double Dog enrolled my 2 daughters, and they have some great mentors, and help them guide themselves in the future now that they're both in college. And they remember these mentors that they had in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. So I'm starting to run that right now in my precinct, where we do like monthly meetings with the kids in the local schools, and I provide them, it's called Cops and Kids. It's a great program that I'm involved in. So it teaches another side of law enforcement to these kids. Like some of these kids, they don't like law enforcement. for whatever reason. Sometimes they've been told by their parents that we're bad, but when they get this one-on-one attention with us, they see we're just people, and I'm hoping this program is going to help them and affect their lives on a positive note. So I'm sorry, I keep sniffling. I got a cold, but the show must go on, and so that's how come I decided to do the show regardless of feeling a little bit under the weather. So I apologize if I keep sniffling. And I also want to talk about, some people also left comments regarding tasers. Do all officers, or are you required to carry tasers? As you all know, it's a less than lethal weapon that we have as a part of our equipment and patrol. So yes, officers now that are going through academy, they are being trained to carry the taser. I myself am trained to carry a taser as well. Taser is a valuable tool. It really is. It offers a less than lethal alternative when you deal with individuals for whatever circumstances. However, I need the public to understand that a taser is not always going to work. And it's up to that officer to know when he or she has to deploy that taser. Whatever circumstances that happen, I can only talk about a personal view that I had when I had to deploy my taser. It's where I encountered a gentleman. Again, it was called in as an EDP. Basically, mom called this in. Her son was very irrational. He was on drugs. She said he's been smoking all day. He's been doing drugs, crack, PCP, and he just started tearing up the apartment, and to a point where he became a danger to himself and to his mom. So she called us, and I was at the time with two trainees, two of my female officers that I was training. I was a field training officer at the time. So I'll give you a quick story about how that went down. We went to the apartment. Mom opened the door. I told her, are you okay? Is everything all right? Where is he? And she pointed out, he's in the living room. So I go to the living room with my two officers, and this guy, he had no shirt. He was sweating. I mean, his sweat was pouring down. The living room was in shambles. Furniture all over the place, thrown on the floor, broken glass everywhere. And he is just talking to himself. So the first thing that I did, and that I teach the officers that I was with, is I always try to get voluntary compliance. That's the first objective of the police, and I try to do it through my words, my verbal compliance. So I went there, and I was just like, hey, how you doing, buddy? How's it going? My name is Officer Oviedo. I was an officer at the time, and these are my two new officers I'm training. How's it going? Tell me what's going on. What's on your mind? How can I help you? I'm not here to hurt you. And he was not having it. He said every curse word in the book, and he told me if I get closer that he was going to fight. He basically told me, prepare to fight because I'm not going voluntarily. So I told him that, hey, listen, that doesn't need to happen. I'm here to help. I just, the ambulance are coming. I would prefer if you come with me like a gentleman. Let's get to the ambulance. Let's get yourself some help, because that's all I'm here for, is to help you. Needless to say, he was not having it. He was not having it. He told me prepare for a fight because he's not going to go voluntarily. So keeping my eye on the individual, I kind of told the officer, listen, you might want to go to the hallway and just call for backup, because yes, there was 3 against 1, but when an individual's on drugs, he or she has this strength that's ridiculously overpowering. So I didn't want to take the chance, like I said, I'm not going to be superhero and take this guy 1-on-1 or 3-on-1. It's best to have strength in numbers and safety. So I had the officers go ahead and request for backup, and when that happened, this individual picked up a crystal ashtray. This thing was pretty heavy. It was a solid crystal ashtray. And he lifted it up. I ordered him several times. Pull it down, drop it. I don't want to have to tase you. At this point, I had the taser out, and I had the indicator light right on him. So he knew what was going to happen. And I told him several times, drop it, I don't want to have to tase you, but I will. Uh, he wasn't having it. Every command that I gave, as nice as I was to the guy, he was not going to comply. Backup was still not on the way. We were in one of the high-rise projects, so he motioned that he was going to throw that crystal ashtray to me. I deployed the taser, and I got a good deployment. I have one like in his torso, one is like in his thigh. So both prongs were successful. But this guy, he looked right at me, and his words were, "Is that all you got?" And my two young officers looked at me like, "What are we gonna do now?" So I said, "Okay." So being that I already had the prongs in him, I deployed another charge and nothing. He looked at me, pulled the wires out, and he came charging at me like a bull. So at that time, that's it. That was a fight. So we wrestled. Like I tried to get him. He pulled my shield off me. My shirt was ripped. He just wasn't having it. So I had two officers that I have to worry about too. They were new. So I had a lot of things going on in my mind. First of all, to get this guy contained and get him in custody. And I was worried about my two officers because they were new, and this was an experience for them. So I was worried about their safety as well. So we're there, we're struggling. I was finally able to hold him. Backup arrived. We were able to take him into custody. Thank God he was in custody. We got him the help that he needed, and that's just an example. Sometimes these tasers are not going to work, So we really try everything in our arsenal. We have pepper spray. We have our tasers, we have our expandable batons. We really do everything we can to take someone in custody voluntarily. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. And of course, the last thing we want to do is use our firearms, which is deadly physical force. That's the last alternative. We don't wake up in the morning saying, "Yeah, I'm about to go out and shoot someone." Come on, we're professionals. That's the last thing a police officer wakes up and wants to do. Circumstances happen that deadly physical force has to be used. For example, if someone's coming at you with a knife, that knife is a deadly weapon. That can cause harm to you and anyone else. If someone's coming at you with a knife, you have to match that force necessary. So you're authorized to use deadly physical force in that instance. If there's a way you can, take cover, that's something else. I'm not going to get into the whole legality of that stuff, but yes, sometimes you have to match the force necessary that's used upon you, which is why we do a lot of training in the academy and in the range and shooting, and we do a lot of tactics, physical tactics in the academy. Because you got to fight. Sometimes you got to fight. That's just the way it is. And if you can't, then you don't need to be in this job. Sometimes you got to get your hands dirty, and you got to be willing to fight, and sometimes you can avoid it. You have to fight. So, those are some of the tools that we have. We do have the tasers, and these comments that are coming on, I appreciate it. Like I said, the individuals want to remain anonymous, which is fine. Like I said, write into the show, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube page, leave those comments, and like I said, I'll answer it as I promised on my show. So appreciate those individuals that left those comments and questions. And being that it is Black History Month, I want to pay tribute to Samuel J. Battle. He was the first black officer in New York City. He was also known as Big Sam. So Officer Samuel J. Battle, he served from 1911 to 1941. So I want to pay tribute to Samuel Battle in honor of Black History Month. He died at the age of 83 in August 7th of 1966, born January 16th, 1883. He broke many barriers. Like I said, he lived through the segregation, the racism, and he rose to the rank of lieutenant. So he was the first African American sergeant in 1926. Then he made the rank of lieutenant in 1935. And he then became the first African American parole commissioner in 1941. My hats goes off. I salute you. Samuel J. Battle, the first African American police officer in New York City. Very, very important that this is Black History Month, so I had to give him a shout out. You can, Google him. You can see his whole history and story behind it. But I just want to pay tribute to Samuel J. Battle. Okay. Also, again, I want to welcome you viewers. Send me those emails. Go to our Black Sheep Bravo Facebook page. Like us. Leave a comment. Go to our YouTube page. Subscribe to us. Tell me what you think. And I'll answer all your questions. So the reason, a lot of things are not said about police officers in a positive light. So I'm here to give positive energy to the law enforcement community. There are good cops out there. Of course, there are bad apples in a bunch. I just ask the public not to label us all. There's a lot of good cops out there. And if you know a cop that deserves recognition, write into the show. And I'll give him a shout out or her a shout out. And I'll tell you a little bit what this person has done to make positive change to the community. So yes, please nominate a cop. That's going to be the next project for you viewers. Send me the information. Nominate a cop, a local cop from your neighborhood that you want to be honored, and I'll give him or her a shout out on the show. And of course, we'll be discussing it on Friday nights at our roundtable show at Black Sheep Bravo Roundtable Show. So I'm going to end the program by giving a big shout out, a big shout out to my daughter. She goes to American University. I'm proudly wearing her hat. She is in the study of broadcast journalism. She did a wonderful piece on YouTube where she basically gave a review of the new show, Black Panther, just like Double O did at our roundtable show. She did a wonderful piece there. I ask you all, log into her YouTube page. You're going to see a wonderful job she did. She's an up-and-coming broadcaster, and I see her being on a major network soon, and me and her go back and forth competing. Who does the best podcast? So I think I do. Mrs. Double Dog begs to differ, but big shout out to Ashley Oviedo on her reviews on YouTube with her new and up-and-coming career as a broadcast journalist, where she studies at American University. This is her last year. I'm going to be proud to be there in May when she graduates. So, on behalf of Black Sheep Bravo and Beyond the Thin Blue Line, this is the Double Dog, wishing you all a blessed Sunday. And once again, to all my law enforcement and people out there, always remember to wear your vest. Thank you and God bless. And see you all at the Roundtable Show on Friday nights with the whole crew coming together. On behalf of Black Sheep Bravo and Beyond the Thin Blue Line, this is the Double Dog signing off. God bless you all.